Begin the current Daf Mesechtes Nazir Daf Tezayin. We begin the new parak, the third parak, parak Misha Amar, which really continues the theme of the previous two parakim regarding the Kabbalahs of the Naziris. What's included in that Kabbalah? She's co-sponsored by Kazich Necheskel to enter Daf Hashem joining us for today's Daf. Some of the discussed in today's Daf are Giluach, which is the halacha of when you finish the Naziris, a mitzvah of cutting the hair, which we'll see exactly what day that is done on. An interesting case that the Gemara discusses is Nazir Beveis HaKvares. If a person was in the cemetery, which obviously you're not supposed to become tamei, and Pesach says the same thing as when he's tamei, it's just a good illustration, and he takes the Naziris in the Beis HaKvares, what's the halacha? Is he going to be liable for the halachas of Naziris, or you say that no, inherently he cannot be because he's in the cemetery right now? An important term that comes up in today's daf is tam naziros. When you take it to generic naziros, how many days are included? We had a machlokes in the beginning of the Masechta. Is it 30 days or actually is it 29 days, like Bar Pada says? And that's going to have relevancy regarding the halacha of our opening halacha of our Mishnah, regarding giluach, when you cut the hair, regarding when is it that actually the naziris ends, that the next day, so to speak, is when you do the giluach. Mixim kekula is the halacha that Rav Masna discusses of that. Even if you say that the Nazir is 30 days, how could it ever be that you'll do the hair cutting on day 30 if you have to go ahead and do it the day after? Because you say Miktzem Kekula, part of the day is like the whole day, and therefore midday through the 30th day, it's like you already finished, and it's like already the next day. Yom is the halacha, that a unique halacha that Rabbi Eliezer discusses, if you become Tameh on the final day of your Naziris, that's going to have a different halacha than Choydim Alais or Acham Alais. It's a unique halacha because there's a kasib that of the final day of the Naziris. So begin the Daf, the third parak, Daf Tezayin with Alf. Says the Mishnah, Misha Amar. If someone says, Harini Nazir, I am a Nazir. Okay, so that's a generic Naziris. So the halach is Megaleach Yom Shleishim Echad. You do the hair cutting on day 31, which this we already learned about on the Gemara on Daf Hey. We had the dispute between Rav Masna and Bar Pada. Rav Masna said that, okay, this halacha makes a lot of sense. Because he says, Stam Nazirais is Lamed Yom. So therefore, you're supposed to do the hair cutting on the following day. Now, what's with Bar Pada? If Bar Pada says that Stam Nazirais is Chav Tes Yom, it's 29 days, so why are you doing the hair cutting on day 31? So that's because, as the Gemara explains over there, that if it's like as if you said Shleimim, which we're going to explain in a moment, like as if you said that it should be 30 days, which it gets confused with that because 30 is definitely a round number that people would make. And then if you said 30 whole days, it would have to be on day 31. So therefore, the halacha of our Mishnah is saying, if you said whole 30 days, you wouldn't be able to do it on day 30. It doesn't, and therefore it would have to be 31. So he holds it's also 31. Now, says the Mishnah, but if let's say you did the hair cutting on day 30, yatsa, you have filled your obligation. So that makes sense according to Bar Pada, because midday, so that's the halacha that really Naziris is only 29 days, so you could do it on day 30. What pshat in Rav Masna? Rav Masna is because he says miktzah has your miktzah kekuloi. So therefore, even though the Naziris has to be 30 days, and only after you finish Naziris are you allowed to do the hair cutting, but midday through 30. It's like as if you did the whole day 30, and therefore that's why even the Rav Masna, you'll be yaitz if you did on day 30. Okay, that's one case. Says the Mishnah further, let's say a guy says, however, explicitly, Hareini Nazir Shloishim Yom. I am a Nazir for 30 days. Now, you're saying explicitly 30. So here the halach is, Megilach Liyam Shloishim, if you do the hair cutting on day 30, Lo Yatza, you have not fulfilled your obligation. Now, even Bar Pada would agree over here, since you said 30 days, you need it to be 30 whole days. And therefore, you're not going to be yaitze only if you do it on day 31. Next case says the Mishnah, Misha Nazir Shtei Naziris. If someone took upon himself two Naziris, two consecutive Naziris, so Megaleches Rishonu Yom Shleishim Echad. So the Ikar halacha is, like we said regarding when you do one Naziris, the first one you do the hair cutting on day 31. And the second one you do on day 61. Because on day 31, which is already after the first Naziris, is day number 1 of the second one. So you finish on day 60, and then you do the hair cutting the day after, which is day 61. Now, if you did the hair cutting the first one, not on day 31, but day 30, which we said, but the evidence that in our mission itself that you'll be Yaitze, the Megalech Hazashni Yom Shishim. Then you can do the hair cutting the second one, day 60, because that means to say day 30 itself is already day 1 of the second Nazirais. So you're going to be finishing on day 59, 30 days, and then 31 will be day 60. Now, if you did cut the hair cutting of the second one on day 59, Yatza filled the obligation. And Bezu Eidus Heid Rav Papayas, this testimony was said by Rav Papayas that Al Misha Nazir Shtei Naziras, if someone takes two Nazirais, She'im Gilech Eser Shaynim Shleshim, which is B'di'evet, if you do the first one on day 30, the Megalech Eser Shnei Al Yom Shishim, okay, you should do the second one on day 60, but V'Megilech Yom Shishim, Chase Echad, if you do the second one on day 59, you have to fill the obligation. Why? So he explains what's the Chiddush in this halacha. She'yom Shel Shleishim Oila Loi Min HaMinyan, because day 30 is going to count, which as Tais explains, when you say day 30 is going to count, what does that mean? So he says, according to Rav Masna, the Chiddush is two ways. Day 30 is going to count for the first Naziros, which biblically has to be 30 days, and we're going to consider as Miktzim Kekuloi, it's considered the end of the first one, and also it's going to count for the second counting, which Midaraisa also has to be 30 days. So that's a Chiddush. So when you did the hair cutting, the first one, the day 30, it's Oilam and Aminyan that's counting as day number 1 for the second one and the last one for the first one. Now, according to Bapad, the Taisa points out, you don't have to count it for the first Naziris, because the first one was already finished on day 29. And the Taglachas of the first one was done on day 30 according to Biblical Halacha. So what does it mean when the Mishnah says day 30 is Oilam and Aminyan? It says, Taisis, according to Rav Pada, it's only for the second Naziris. So that it should also be that the second Taglachas should be on day 30 because you're cutting your hair on day 59. So what's interesting is the second one really should be on day 61 or day 60. And I was saying you could even have it on day 59 if you did the first one on day 30, and b'di'evet if you did the second one on day 59, that means to say that you're doing it on day 30, so you're having mitzvah and kukuloi, really both sides of the beginning and of the end. It says in the Mishnah further, Misha Mahareini Nazir. If someone says, I am a Nazir, what happens if Nitma Yom Shleishim? We know the halacha generally is when you become Tamei as a Nazir, it's Soiser. It demolishes everything you count, you got to start over. What happens if Nitma Yom Shleishim, the letzte Tag, the last day of your Nazir is it becomes Tamei? Says the Tanakama, Soiser es hakol. So it demolishes everything. So Taisa, we always have to be explaining this Mishnah according to Rav Masna Bar Pada, who has, again, we explained Daf Hey, an interesting machlekes. Most kids probably think in the Naziris is 30 days. Rapada says it's 29 days. So if someone comes to tell me day 30, well, it's usually nafkamina between Rapada and Masna what day 30 really is. So Taisa explains, according to Rav Masna, you become tummy day 30, it's Seisim in Atayra. Because according to Rav Masna, the biblical Naziris is 30 days. So you have to bring a carbon of Tumah, and then you go and you count over 30 days again, and Naziris of Tahara. According to Rapada, it's only Seisim B'Dirabanan. Because day 29, you already finished your biblical Naziris. It's only Seisim B'Dirabanan, because like we said, it's like Zera where you say, even though generic Naziris really, there's no reason of cutting your hair on day 31 like we started the first halacha of our Mishnah. The only reason is because, okay, a regular Nazir is 29, but it's going to get confused with the round number of 30 shleimim, and then it's taka going to be that you have to do your hair cutting on day 31. So rabbinically we say you always have to do day 31. But again, of course, but the evidence made sense according to him why if you do day 30, it's going to be good. But al kapanim, if you become tummy day 30, according to Padas as Taisis, you're not going to bring a carbon of Naziras of Tumah, because biblically you already were finished. Now that's the Tanakama. Rabbi Eliezer says, no, Eina Seisa Ela Shiva. It's only going to demolish 7 days, which, according to Bapada, that makes sense, because essentially what are we saying? He doesn't have this Gezerah D'Rabbanan. It's a Gezerah D'Rabbanan according to the Tanakama, the way Bapada explains, because really you're over on day 29, you're day 30. So what does it mean you have to wait 7 days? That's very simple, because you have to wait till you become Tahar to bring your Karbanis. Now, according to Rav Masna, it's more difficult. According to Rav Masna, what's going on over here? How could Rabbi Eliezer say only Seisis Shiva? Naziris takes 30 days. You're within your Naziris. Right. Exactly. Right. It's a terminology. Tanakama. Now, but according to Master, what's the pshat in Rabbi Eliezer? Oh, what do you mean? Rabbi Eliezer holds miktzim kukulai. And that's even if you became tummy before you brought kabbanis. Lamais, you became tummy within day 30, but Lamais, I already had miktzim kukulai. It's already like la'acham alais, like already finished already. Now, so what's pshat in the Rabbanan then? So why, according to the Rabbanan, does Rabbi Masna hold that it's going to be Seis Hakol? Because they don't say miktzim kukulai. Only if you brought your kabbanis of tahara on day 30, it's as if you brought on day 31. But Lamaisa, until the day is over, you're still within your naziras. And you become tama, you're Seis Hakol. So that's the machlokes according to Rav Masna between Rabbi Eliezer and the Tanakama. Next case says the Mishnah. Let's say someone says, however, this is similar to the previous case, but it's going to be very different. He says, Areini Nazir Shloshim Yoim. So he didn't take a stam naziris. He says, I'm a nazir for 30 days. And mitma Yom Shloshim comes to me day 30. Oh, here says Hakol. No one disagrees. Even Rabbi Eliezer is going to agree that it says for everything. What's pshat in this case? What's the difference? So Taisa explains, according to Rav Masna, that he says a stam nazir is just 30 days. So what's the difference? If stam nazir is 30 days, and you said 30 days, so why would Rav Masna differentiate? According to Pada, makes sense, of course, because usually 29 or 30. According to Rav Masna, why would Rabbi Eliezer agree over here? That's not says Hakol. Says the pshat is because you said extra words. Why did you say 30? Every nazir is 30 days. Oh, the superfluosity of the word is coming to tell you something more. As if you said, shleimim. As if you're saying, complete. Oh, even according to Rabbi Eliezer, that says miktzim kakulai. No, you're not saying miktzim kakulai. We're telling you it's going to be Seis Hakol. Now, according to Bapada, he b'chlal doesn't know miktzim kakulai. So when you say 30, okay, so that's obvious. A part of the minyan naziris because you specified 30 days. Now, but still Taisa has a question. Still, he says, why, according to Rabbi Eliezer, says Hakol, we have Rabbi Eliezer opinion that the Gemara brings on Yotesam Beis from a Braisa, that if, let's say, someone says, I'm a Nazir for 100 days, and it becomes Tommy day 100. So the Braisa quotes Rabbi Eliezer saying, you would think, that's the Mitten Naziris? Should we say Hakol? No, it says in the Pasuk, V'ayamim harishonim yiplu. What does that mean, the Yom Rishon yiplu? The first days. Machlal dikachrayim, that there are still later days. Now, here there's no machrayim, you're on the last day. So then the halacha is actually it's not going to be Seis Hakol. That's the Bryce we'll see on Daf Yomi Beis Rabbi Eliezer brings. So Frek Taisus, but here also, when you become at day 30, there's no achrayim, so it shouldn't be Seis Hakol. Why is it being Seis Hakol? It's especially because Seis Hakol, so we'll see on Daf Yomi, has to be more days later on, because there are earlier days and later days. But when there's the last day, there's no later days. So why are you being Seis Hakol? So it appears to me that since the guy said, I want to be Nazir for 30 days, if that's the case, so day 30 is Yom Malois, is the final day. So what's this final day? So there's another drasha. There's a drasha in the pasuk that the Gemara brings on Chafim at Aleph. It says, V'zois teiras hanazir b'yom Malois. This is the halacha of a Nazir on the day when he finishes it. Meaning, if it becomes Tomei on the day of his Malois, you give him a teiras Nazir. You give him a halacha of a stam naziris. Now, what does that mean? That means to say that he has to, if he becomes tummy the final day, he becomes tummy for 30 days. So therefore, we learn the brisa later on that says if a guy becomes tummy at the end of the 100, we're not excluding from vayam vayiplu. In other words, what Tay is doing is he's trying to put together these two different drashas to show you what happens when you become tummy on the final day. All the drasha is telling us that it's not going to be say so all of the 100 days. That's what we're saying when it's v'hayamim harishayim yiplu, that if there has to be earlier days and later days, and then it'll be Seis Hakol. But if it's the final days, it won't be Seis Hakol. But the other drasha of Azeis Teres HaNazir is telling us, Azeis Teres HaNazir b'yom Elohis, that then it's going to be Seiser 30 days, which is Teres Nazir, which is Stam Nazir, so 30 days, as the Mishnah teaches that when Nitma Yomeya, according to Rabbi Eliezer, it's going to be Seiser Shleishim. So in our case, meaning in the first case when the guy says, I'm a Nazir Stam, Rabbi Eliezer says it's not going to be Seiser about 7 days. When you become Tomei day 30, so according to Pada, that makes sense. because from day 29, you already finished Naziris. Day 30 is not Yom Malais because you didn't say 30 explicitly. And even according to Tanakh that says it is Seiser, according to Bapad, it's only rabbinically, and you don't mean the Karma Tumah. According to Masna also it says Mixim Kukuloi, therefore day 30 is not, there's a big Chiddush. Day 30 is not Yom Malais. Because if you say Mixim Kukuloi, it's as if you already finished that day, because you already did some of the Nazir, it's like La'acham Malais, even though it's day 30. Exactly. Because it makes it Kukuloi. But in the Seifa, in our case, when you say Areni Nazir Shleishim, it's as if you said explicitly complete. Oh, according to Masna, you don't say Mixim Kukuloi. So therefore, Yom Shleishim is Yom Malais. And therefore, according to Belezah, it's going to be Saisa from the drasha of Zois, Teiras, HaNazir. And as it continues to Amid Beis and Toises. So according to Tanakama, that says it's going to be Saisa everything by a Stam Nazir. According to Rav Masna, that's from Biblical Halacha, that's from the Minyan Naziris, because we're not going to say Miktzah Sayim Kukulei. Now, in the Seifa, when you say Hareini Nazir Meir Yoim, and it comes Tamid Day 100, according to Rabbi Lazar, it can be Seiser 30 days. That's from the Drasha of Zois Teiras. Again, that tells you it's going to be Seiser 30 days. Now, what Taisa wants to know, however, according to Rav Masna, what's the difference, the ratio, and this is Haggah, this is another comment edited into Taisis. What's the difference, the ratio, when you take an Ed Stam, and becomes Tamid Day 30, which according to Rabbi Eliezer, according to Rav Masna, we consider as if it became Tamid Acha Malais, because it makes him Kukuloi. Say also when you're another Mei Yom, you should consider Day 100 as Acha Malais, so because you say Miktzah Yom Kukuloi, and as some Girsais and Taisa add on, because when you say I'm a Nazar 100 days, there's no extra words over here like when you say I'm a Nazar for 30 days, because that's extra words, because Tam Nazir is already 30 days. Why are you saying 30? So then we consider as if he said 30 complete days. So therefore that's B'yom Malais. That's why Rabbi Eliezer says that's going to be Seiser Shleishim, which is really the whole, which is Seiser Sakol for Stam Naziris. But when you say 100, you can't say that because he has to say the words of that it's going to be 100. So why over there don't you say Miktzim Kukuloi and to say it's like a Acham Malais? So Taisus brings some Taisus on the Avav Mavez. This tells us because there's many different layers of Bali Taisus that says when the guy says I'm a Nazir of 100 days, it really means Shleimim, and therefore everything makes sense because now you cannot say anymore Miktzim Kukuloi. And he says that's how we resolve the sug in the first parak, which brings when the person says I'm a Nazir and the Gersa should be Stam, and comes to day 30, it says Sakol. Which the Gemara says over there, we understand the according to Rav Masna makes sense because in some is 30 days. But according to Bapada, how does it make sense? So Bapada says, what do you mean? Look at the Sefer. It's a good chazara from there that he says, Rabbi Eliezer says, is only going to be Sefer only 7 days. And if you think Nazir is 30 days, there should be Sefer everything. Says Taisa, what do you mean? How could you prove anything? I could tell you maybe it is like Rav Masna, that Nazir is just 30 days. The reason why it's only Sefer 7 days according to Rabbi Eliezer is because there's no Yom Machrainim. And when you become Tamid the last day of Naziris, it's not going to be saying anything according to Rabbi Eliezer, like we'll learn the Brisa later on. And moreover, according to Masna, what's pushing him to say that he holds Miktzim Kukula? Why don't you say the reason is like Rabbi Eliezer because there's no Yom Achrayim? It says Taisa, but according to what we explained, it makes sense. Because if day 30 was from the Minan Zir, according to Bapad, according to Masna, also if you didn't say Miktzim Kukula, it would be saying everything from the Josh of Zayis Taris HaNazir. So again, it's just you have to keep in mind there's these two, we'll see enough you test Daf Chav, there's these two competing drushes. This is Vayam Rishonim Yiplu, which tells us it's not going to be Seis Hakol until it is that there's more days coming up. But at the same time, there's the drasha of, which means say excluding the last day. But at the same time, there's a drasha of Zeis Teres Hanazir B'Yom Malais, which if you become Tamid the final day, it's going to be Seis a Teiras Nazir, which is the amount of 30 days. So therefore, if you become Tamid day 100, you're right, it's not going to be Seis Hakol, only Seis 30. But according to Rabbi Eliezer, like in our Mishnah, when you're taking a Stam Nazirais and you become Tamid on the Yom Shleishim, but you said, I want to be Nazir Shleishim Yom. So it's like as if you're saying it should be Shalim, because you add an extra word you didn't have to say, according to Masna. So therefore, if you become Tamei on that day, it's going to be Seis Sakol, because that's a Stam Teres Naziris, which is 30 days. So he brings one final point from his Rebbe, Rabbi Yitzchok, which some want to bring from this about calling a son after the name of the father, which is, you see, Ben Yitzchok ben Harav Rabbi Yitzchok, that's all. That, if they want to bring it right from, I'm trying to remember if it's actually this Taisus, whatever, but it would seem that according to everyone, both according to Rav Masna and according to Pada, the pasuk a different shot. That the pasuk is Zois Teres Hanaz and the pasuk Yom Rishon is talking about when you say Meir Shleiman, which again, according to this, it would make sense that the drasha was not said by Nazir is Mu'etis, this drasha, and this is how Tais explained in the first parak from Bein the Parrots, and so to the drasha of Min Hayom Rishonim Mechadik Achreinim, we don't make it by Nazir is Mu'etis, only by Nazir's a long one, like 100 days, and that's how it resolves the sugya. But Tais already explains this already previously. But we already had a mahalach, we already have a Tais that how to explain why, according to everyone, when you say I'm going to be a Nazir 30 days, it's again the fact that you add on the extra words. It's like as if you said shleimim, and if you say shleimim, so then again it's going to be yom. And even according to Rabbi Eliezer, even though he says that when it's on the last day, it's not Tzais HaKol, that only means, let's say, from 100 it's not Tzais HaKol. But 30 days is going to be Tzais from Tzais Teres and Nazir be yom, and that's how much it is. Over here it's 30 days. Like the halach of the Mishnah continues with another case. Hareini Nazir meya yom. Let's say someone says that I'm a Nazir for 100 days, which we just referenced this halacha just before. Now, nitma yom meya. So here, we just, again, it's like a little bit of a, just reminding, it's not so difficult, but just remember the cases. There's a difference between if someone says I'm a Nazir stam, and a Nazir shleishim yom, machlokes Rabbi Eliezer and the Chacham, which according to Rabbi Eliezer, if you're taking stam Naziris, it's only going to be says shiva, according to Nazir shleishim, he agrees when we say hakol. Now, that Tzais HaKol is 30 days. What happens if you say I'm a Nazir for May, I'm 100 days? So here we have another machlokes. Tanakama holds, Nitma Yomei become Tamei Day 100, Tzais es HaKol. It demolishes everything. Now these Taises are all on Amud Beis. Now, the reason for that is because it's the last day of your Naziris. And as Tais explains, according to Rabbanu, we don't say Mikseb Kukuloi, where you're become Tamei, you didn't bring your Karbanis, meaning even according to Rav Masna, who explains that according to the Chacham we hold Miksib Kukuloi, that's only if you bring your carbon on the final day, so then we consider Miksib Kukuloi, but L'maisyu Nazir is continuing, and if you become tummy in the final day, okay, it's going to be Seis HaKol. However, Rabbi Eliezer says, no, it's only going to demolish 30 days. What's the reason for this? Now, as Tais is bothered, it says, according to Bapada, should have been Seiser, because he doesn't even hold Miksib Kukuloi. We don't tell me Rav Masna who held the Miksib Kukulai. According to Rav Masna, we also explained the first parak that it's like you said shleimim, so it should be Seis HaKol. So Taisa explains that because we have a drush of Zeis Teres and Nazir. So Gzeis HaKasev that on the last day it's only going to be Seiser 30 days because you became Tamei on day 100. So that's why it's going to be only 30 days according to Rabbi Eliezer. So it's Gzeis HaKasev. Now what happens if Nitma Yemei Ve'echad became Tamei day 101? So then we have another machlekes. Tanakama says Shaisa Shleishim Yom, it's Shaisa 30 days. Now, as Tais explains, why are you being Shaisa anything on day 101? So that's rabbinic halacha. And that's why it's only Shaisa 30 days. Because day 101 is really the day when you cut your hair and you bring your karbanas. So what's the problem? Why are you being Shaisa anything? It's a gzeira atu when you become Tamei on day 30, where you said I'm a stam nazir, which that's also day 30 is biblically a yom teglachas min ha-Torah. Why? Why is day 30 biblically yom teglachas? What are you talking about? Day 31 is. No, according to Rav Masna, because if you say miktzim kukulai, so biblically day 30 when you say stam naziris could be a yom teglachas, and according to Bapada, since day 29 you finished, of course day 30 is biblically the yom teglachas. Oh, so therefore, if you become Tamin day 30, according to Masna, Ben HaTorah, it's going to be Seiser. And we're Geyser, day 101, up to day 30. Because they're similar. Because day 101 is also a hair cutting day. But mice, it's a definitive hair cutting day. There's nothing wrong with becoming Tamin then, yes. But day 30, which is also a hair cutting day, is a real steer according to Rav Masna, and then according to Bapada, day 30 would rabbinically be Seiser. Why would you rabbinically be Seiser? Because the way you say, I'm a Nazir for Shleishim. It's a little of like a few steps. So that's what we said already, because the ilaha l'kaimaha. Because, so to become Tamei day 101, which also Yom Teglachas, we're going to Atu Yom Lamed, because day 30 is also Yom Teglachas. And if we're going to let you by Stam Naziris, then we might let you when you actually say Lamed Shleimim, which would be a problem. And so too, previously, the Gemara, we could have said that when the guy says Harini Nazir, this is actually debatable. Taisus, Rabbi Kiva points out, Taisus says himself elsewhere, but you could have said on the case of Nitmu Yom Lamed Aleph, and you become Timid on day 31, where it's really the same thing. But it depends on the girsa actually here in Taisus, which some girsas have it differently. But day 31 is day after Tegalacha, so it's like a day 102. At day 102, for sure it's not going to be Seiser Shleishim, it's only going to be Seiser Shiva, just that you have to be able to purify yourself and bring your Karbanas. But Al Kaban, that already depends on girsas already, day 31, how Taisus understands that. But Al Kapanim, the Tanakama holds, okay, you become Tami day 101, it's going to be Seiser Shleishim Yom. Because the whole point of the Shleishim is only because Atu a case of Shleishim. So we'd not say more than 30 days. However, on that, Rabbi Eliezer says, no, ain't a Seiser Shiva. It's only going to be Seiser only 7 days. Why is that? So Taisus says very simply, Rabbi Eliezer is not glazer this day 101 up to day 30, because day 30 itself is not Seiser according to Rabbi Eliezer. Because even according to Bapada, when you say I'm a Nazir Stam, and you become Tam even day 30, your Nazir is already finished from day 29. Day 30 is biblically your day of Teklachas. But day 31 is like the day after Teklachas, like day 102. So therefore, according to Rabbi Eliezer, since you're already done already, however you say it, point is it's already done and there's no problem even day 30 itself. So why would I make Xer 101 up to 30 when day 30 itself is not a problem? So therefore only going to be Seiser only 7 days, because that's Pashut. You have to wait 7 days till you become Tar. It's not really Seiser anything really. Now the Gemara explains the halachas of our Mishnah. Misha Amaharini Nazir. We said in the Mishnah, if someone says I'm a Nazir, Benit Miyam Shleishim, the opening case of the days of the case of Tumah, and it becomes something day 30. So he says Sakal. So the Tanakh says it says everything. And Rabbi says it's only says 7 days. So continue to mid-base. So the Gemara explains. Xavier Rabbi holds Kol Achar Malais, anything that's after the finishing of your Nazirais. So halacha is Shiva Seiser. And these tastes are on further down on the Amid. That therefore he says, if someone says I'm Stam Nazir and become Tamid day 30, that's not going to be Seiser, meaning the 7 days that he says Seiser is just pushed to become Tar, because it's Achar Malais. What do you mean it's Achar Malais? According to Rav Masna, because it says Mixim Kakulai. So later in the day is already like after you finished already. Like Mapada, of course, because on day 29 you already finished Naziris. So if you come Tamid day 30 according to Rabbi Eliezer, it's Achar Malais. According to both Rav Masna and Bapada. So as if it's only 6 to 7. Another halacha the Mishnah, the Gemara describes from the Mishnah. When the Mishnah said, "Arini Nazir Shleishim Yom," I'm a Nazir for 30 days, and here we add on the word Shleishim Yom. Benit Miyam Shleishim becomes on day 30. Oh, it says Zakol, it says everything. So the Gemara explains here, like Rabbi Eliezer, here Rabbi Eliezer does not disagree. Why? Because the Amar Shleiman, he says he's basically saying that it should be complete, and so according to Rav Masna, it's like as if he said Shleimim. And therefore, we're not going to say Mixim Kukulis, as if it says Hakol. Also, when you say explicitly 30, it's as if you're saying Shleimim, because he doesn't hold Mixim Kukulai. He only holds day 30 is usually good, but yeah, because really biblically it's good enough for 29. But if you say 30, it's obviously 30. So therefore, Rabbi Eliezer does not disagree, and therefore, in this case, he would agree that it's going to be Seiser as Hakol. Now, the Mishnah said in another case, I'm Nazir for 100 days. Become a Tummy day 100. So he said, Tanakama holds, okay, says Hakol, your middle be in the Naziris, that's it, you demolish everything. But he says, no, Eino says Hashem only Rishlesh at 30. Now, what's the source of that halacha? So the Gemara explains, B'kula, Ma'isa, this whole explanation of our Mishnah up until this point, is K'tavina Ba'aliba de Ba'pada of Masna, is the way we explain, and we asked according to Rav Masna Ba'pada, and we had this whole discussion in the first parak, Daf Hey, Daf Vav, which explained the sources of these halachas, which again, we already mentioned, that this day 100 is, according to Rabbi Eliezer, Xeis HaKasiv of B'yoyim Malais Nizrei, Ados Teres and Naz B'yoyim Malais, that it can be Seiser amount of the Naziras, which is 100. The Rabban don't have that drasha. Never they say, okay, you below your Naziras, you can be Seiser as Hakam. In the halach of the next Mishnah, we get a little bit more interesting. Also about the Kabbalah of the Naziras. And but you're taking the Kabbalah as follows. Misha Nazavu Beves HaKvaras. Someone's in the cemetery, and he's inspired, and he's saying, you know what? I want to be a Nazir. And says Taisus, really the same thing as if he was tummy and he took the nether. The Gemara is going to compare the two, but it's just an interesting case. He's in the cemetery and he takes the Naziris. Says the Mishnah, which Naziris is 30 days. And he stayed over there in the cemetery, which really, again, you don't have to really be in the cemetery. You're tummy, but whatever. You were tummy, you're in the cemetery for 30 days. That's not counted towards your counting of your 30 days for being there. And the may be carbon tumah. You're not going to bring a carbon of tumah of naziris. Why? Because the Gemara is going to bring that the Torah excluded such a person who is preemptively tameh from being a carbon of tumah. Because the Taisa points out, it's obvious the first halacha that those days, those 30 days when you're in the cemetery, are not going to be counted toward your minyan naziris, because even if you were tahar and you counted, and then you become tameh, it's seisu de rishonim. For sure, it's not going to be counted when you're tameh. So he says, really, you don't. That's not any part of the chiddush of ein adam minyan. It's just that the second half of that, you're not going to make a carbon of tameh. Now, what happens, however, if let's say yotza, he left the cemetery, v'nichnas, and he came back in? What does that mean? So the Gemara is going to explain. It doesn't just mean leaving, come back in because you're still tameh. It means you went out, you sprayed yourself with the ashes of paraduma, and on the seventh day, nuch the mikveh, and you sprayed yourself, you came back in to the cemetery. Oh, then oilun min minyan. It's going to count towards the counting. What does that mean? What does that mean? Count towards the you just became tameh again. What does that mean? So as Taisha explains, it means regarding this, that when you become tameh, it's going to be seiser you're counting. Oh, and then you can be liable. Oh, maybe carbon tumah. That's why it said that first halacha, because like Taisha said, it's not really teaching us anything. It's for the sake of this halacha that, now you have a carbon of tumah. Because that same day, when you went to the mikveh and you got your last sprays on day 7 of your tahara, is when you started your naziris of tahara. So your tar who becomes tameh is chayv a carbon of tumah. Now the Gemara is going to have a machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Shlakish. When the guy became tahar, if he has to go ahead and do a new kabbalas of naziris, or is it enough the fact that he was makabel his naziris when he was in the cemetery, when he was tameh? Now, Rabbi Eliezer, he disagrees on this one point. He says, Loi boy bayim. He says, yeah, but it can't be that day itself. In other words, that if he goes in that same day that he became tar, the 7th day, he's not going to bring a carbon of tumah until the 2nd day when he started his tahara process. What's the pshat? It's a pasuk in Bamidbar. It says, Vayamim harishonim yiplu, the first days that he already counted will fall away. Oh, that teaches that yom rishonim until he has earlier days, which is almost similar to his other drasha at the end, the yom achrayim yiplu, that you need to have, when you're being seiser, that has to be 2 days. Then you bring a carbon of tumah. Now, the truth is, the Mishnah could have said their machlekes by a case of a Nazir who is tar, who became tameh in the first day of Kabbalah's of his Nazirais. And since it became tameh in the beginning, the first day according to Rabbanan, you're going to bring a carbon of tumah. According to Rabbi Eliezer, you're not going to bring a carbon of tumah. You're just going to count 7 days of tumah, spray yourself, repeat again, taivel, and count 29 days from the first day that you counted, and you cut your hair on day 30, which could be 31 Naziras. So that's what Tais says. Really, we could have said it that way also. It's really the same idea. But al kapanim, that's their machlekes. Now, the Gemara brings a machlekes amaram that's going to relate back, and we're going to try to bring proof from the halacha of our Mishnah. Sayyid Mari learned as follows. Same case of our Mishnah. Mishnah Nazir Beveis HaKvara. Someone takes Naziris while he's in the cemetery. Rabbi Yochanan says, Naziris chala olav. His Naziris takes effect on him for all halachas. He's going to get lashes over there in the cemetery for tumah if they warn him, say, hey, get out of the cemetery. If he cuts his hair in the cemetery, if he drinks wine. And moreover, when he makes himself pure, doesn't have to go ahead and take a new Kabbalah of Naziris. You are a Nazir. That's one opinion. But Shloimy says, no, a Nazir is chalav. There's no Naziris taking effect on this guy. He's not a Nazir. He's not going to get any lashes for drinking wine, for cutting his hair, for not leaving as Tumah. No. So the Gemara explains the machlekes. Yochanan says Nazir is chalav. Naziris will take effect on him because Savir mitla tal yivakaima. He holds that it's suspended in the ear, this Naziris, and therefore he holds that, yeah, you're forbidden. In other words, and Even the meshakcha tahara, when there is an ability of purity there, it's in chayla. It'll take effect. In other words, the laws of naziris of tahara regarding bring your korban, meaning what does it mean mitla tali v'kaya? Until you go out from there and you're going to go ahead and you're going to purify yourself. But still he holds that you're aser. When you purify yourself, by default, it automatically takes effect regarding the bringing of the korban, which Tais says, Bekitzi could have said that really your Nazir takes effect right now. And you're going to get lashes for cutting your hair, for drinking wine, for becoming tameh. It just means to say that you're just not having the Naziris of Tahara to bring a korban like we learned in the Mishnah. But your Naziris takes effect right now. Now, Vershak says, no, it's not true. Ein Naziris chalalav. When you're tameh, until you purify, Naziris doesn't take effect. And actually, when you purify, you're going to have to go and take a new Kabbalah of Naziris. Now, Taisa brings from Rashi that he explains that, however, even Rish Lakish would agree that a minimum Kabbalah would be sufficient. That to say that his Naziris will take effect, and he could just say, Harini Kamosh Nadarti. I am as I had taken my vow. Which the first parak in the Dharma actually brings that according to Rish Lakish, you're over Bal Ta'acher if you don't do your Kabbalah and Naziris right away when you make yourself tar. Because again, according to Rish Lakish, you have to do new Kabbalah, but there's Bal Ta'acher because you have an obligation to take it again. But upon him, says Rish Lakish, if you subsequently go out and say that you're going to be a Nazir, Chayla will take effect. Be lie. But if not. You're not going to be a Nazir. Again, you'll get Bal Ta'acher because you have to go and do what you're accepted to do, but you're not a Nazir. That's Machlokes. Are you a Nazir? And you're just not for the Naziris of Tahara of Kabbanas? Or no, Biskin, you're not a Nazir at all. So the Gemara begins a series of questions Rabbi Yochanan has on Rish Lakish on his opinion. First one is from our Mishnah. It's Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. We learned in our Mishnah, Misha Nazar b'hu b'veisek vas. If someone takes in Naziris and he's in the cemetery, we said Afilah ha'yisham shleishim, even if they are gantz in Naziris, 30 days. Ein oilam min minyan, it's not counted for the minyan. And the main point is ve'in may be korban tumah. He does not bring a korban of tumah. Wait a second, says Rabbi Yochanan. Let's be medayik. Korban tumah hu delay maisi. Okay, you're not going to bring a korban of tumah because, as we're going to see, the Gemara later on is going to bring a pasuk that shows us this halacha that you don't bring a korban. Sounds like hameichel chaylala, but Naziris takes effect on him regarding getting lashes for tumah or for drinking wine or for cutting the hair. Because vaz looks like korban. Korban sounds like it's specific miyut regarding korban. But according to Rish Lakish, why would you get any other liability? You're not a Nazir. Samalais, Rish Lakish said to Rabbi Yochanan, no, eina b'toiras tumah. You're not in the halachic category of tumah, and ve'eina b'toiras korban. You're not in the halachic category of a korban, because no, Naziris does not take effect at all. It's not only a korban. You're not in the halachic category of someone who would bring a korban because you're not a Nazir. Okay, fine, that's his teretz. But Esrei Rabbi Yochanan asked Rish Lakish in the following brayso. Misha, you're tamei b'nazir. If someone was tamei and they took a Naziris, same case really. That's what Taisa kept on saying, that the Gemara compares basic faras and tamei. You don't have to be in the cemetery the whole month. You could just be tamei. You never would matar yourself. And he took a Naziris. So Allah is asa legalech. You're not allowed to cut your hair. But the shas yain to drink wine. But tamal mason, make yourself tamei to mason. And when megilach, if you cut your hair, but shas yain drink wine. In the middle of mason, we did any of the violations of Naziris. He says something upon. Gets 40 lashes. So what are you talking about? If you say like me, that when you were tummy, when you're in the cemetery, you accepted Naziris, you are Nazir. Okay, I didn't tell me something about. I understand why you get lashes. But if you say like you, that when you're tummy, when you're in a cemetery, when you can't become a Nazir. Hey, on. You tell me. So am I something? Why are you getting 4 lashes? I think Mark concludes on the top of your Zayin Aleph. Hachamay skin or tumah over here is b'yoytzei v'nichnas. What does that mean? When you left from your tumah, you sprayed yourself once and twice, and you toiveled, and you accepted the Naziris another time, and then you went into a place of tumah. Oh, that's when we're seeing you to get lashes. Which is, so what's the chiddush of the brayso then? So says Taisus, the chiddush is that even if he didn't go ahead and say another time, Hadeini Nazir, he just said, let my Nazirs take effect. You're going to become a Nazir and you're going to get lashes, like we explained from Rashi. You don't have to do a full-fledged Kabbalah. That's what the brayso would be hinting to with its halacha. Or another pshat, you could say that the chiddush of the brayso is that the moment he becomes tar, it's incumbent upon him to accept his Naziros right away, to let us know that you'll be over Bal Ta'ach if you don't accept it right away. But you're right, in the halacha itself, the brayso really is no chiddush per se, the way Rish Lakish is answering. It's not like the fact that you did it when you were tummy, you're going to get lashes because according to him, no, you have to do a new Kabbalah. And only then, after you retire, and you took a new Kabbalah, and then you become tummy, or you drink wine, only then you're going to be chayav. So, but Al Kaman, that's how he's answering the case of Yotza B'nichnas, that it's not, you're right, you wouldn't be liable if you're tummy. The Chiddush has to be one of the two Pshatim Taisus said. Thank you for any time for hosting us.